Section 5.3 is on solving multi-step inequalities. To solve a multi-step inequality, solve as you would for an equation. Just remember to reverse the inequality sign if you multiply or divide by a negative. So this is going to be very similar to how we solved an equation. So we're basically going to be undoing whatever was done to x backwards. So here we have our first example, negative 4x plus 11 is less than 43. To start this, I'm going to subtract 11 from both sides. So that'll cancel out and leave me with negative 4x is less than 32. And then dividing both sides by a negative 4. That's going to give me x. And since I divided by a negative, I have to flip my inequality. It's going to be greater than negative 8. And I'll just put set builder notation around that. And to graph that, negative 8, negative 7, negative 9, and x is greater than negative 8. Our second example involves some parentheses. So 2 times the quantity x plus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 3 times the quantity 8 minus x. So my first step is going to be to distribute and get rid of the parentheses. So I'll have 2x plus 12 is greater than or equal to negative 24 plus 3x. So I kind of like to have my x's on the left, so I think I'll subtract 3x on each side. So it's going to give me negative x plus 12 is greater than or equal to negative 24. And then I'll subtract 12 on each side. And that's going to leave me with negative x is greater than or equal to negative 36. And I don't want to know what negative x is, I want to know what positive x is. So I'll divide both sides by a negative 1. Or you could multiply both sides by a negative 1. But either way, it's a negative 1, so my inequality sign flips from a greater than or equal to a less than or equal to 36. And I'll put it in set builder notation. Do my graph up here. It's a less than or equal to, so a solid dot over 36 and going to the left. Our last example here is a word problem. This says define a variable, write an inequality, and solve. 4 times the number increased by 12 is less than the number minus 3. So defining a variable means writing a let statement. So let x equal the number. And now I'll write my inequality. 4 times a number increased by 12 is less than the number minus 3. Now I need to solve it. So I'll start by subtracting x on both sides. Gives me 3x plus 12 is less than negative 3. And I'll subtract 12 on each side. 3x is less than negative 15. And dividing both sides by 3, x is less than negative 5. And no need to flip because I divided by a positive even though there was a negative there in the problem. So in this lesson we took a look at solving multi-step inequalities where you'll have to add or subtract and then multiply or divide and then add or subtract, keeping in mind that anytime we multiply or divide by a negative we have to flip that inequality.